All right. So we've got a good group here so far. So we will get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Miss Amy, the co-host of Communities. I always stumble on this. Community Reads, formerly known as PCL Reads. I just always want to say PCL Reads because that's what we were for 2.5 years. Lee Smith, my counterpart, is at the Mount Pleasant Library, and he is our background extraordinaire. He set this all up for us tonight, which is fabulous. And we are so happy this month to have partnered with the Rhode Island Center for the Book for the 3rd year in a row. Kate Lentz is fabulous. She always brings us these amazing authors, and this year an illustrator, which is super exciting. And we are talking about Wherever I Go tonight. And we have Mary Wagley Copp and Munir Mohammed here at my library. We're all here tonight. So we're broadcasting from the Washington Park Library for you. They are extraordinary people. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with them a few times already these past couple months, and I'm going to kick it off to them to give us some information about themselves and the book, and then we'll open things up for Q&A.
Great. Well, I'll start just by thanking you, Amy and Lee. Community Reads is an incredible program, and Rhode Island Center for the Book, thank you so much. And Books on the Square, I guess, who provided the books. We're just incredibly grateful. So I'm going to start by just telling you a little bit about the book and my inspiration, and then I'm going to turn it over to the amazing illustrator who has brought the words to life. So this is a fictional story of a young girl in a refugee camp. Her name is Abia, and she has lived most of her life, almost all of her 7 years, 4 months, and 16 days in this camp. And she is very busy every day. She has a lot of responsibility. She pumps water at the water well and carries it back to her mother, who needs every drop. She pounds cassava root for their next meal. She waits in long lines for the rations of rice and oil. And incredibly, she takes care of her baby cousin while her mother and her auntie collect firewood. So she has a busy, responsible day. And to cope with all of that, she makes herself a queen. And she is Queen Abia. And so throughout her day, she, even to the very end of the day, when she takes off her crown and she curls up on her prickly mat, she still is a queen. And it's that queenness, really, and the courage and the creativity that she carries to her new life when her family is resettled in a new city. And yeah, we hope you all enjoy the book. And I should say the inspiration for the book came from children themselves in a refugee camp. I was in Shemelba with a small team of filmmakers documenting a family moving from Shemelba to Providence. And those children who were endlessly curious and playful and full of joy, they were the inspiration for this story. And fortunately, Simon & Schuster picked Munir to be the illustrator, and he brought the words to life in the most authentic and poignant way. And I'm going to turn it over to Munir.
Hello, my name is Munir Mohammed, and I'm from Ghana in West Africa. When I was chosen for this book, I read everything and I'm like, my God, someone wrote my story. Because why? The landscape and everything that was written about, that was my background. And growing up, I walked barefooted. I did everything that kid did, except that I wasn't a refugee. But it just brought me back home as a kid. And I told Mary after I got to know her, because we were not really close. I didn't know her much until this book was given to me to illustrate. But that helped me a lot because that was my background. So I was able to use that experience to turn it into a picture book that Mary wanted. And since she did that writing that's so to me, so close and so dear to me. I felt like, you know what? I can do this. To tell you the truth, it wasn't easy. I thought I was a good artist. People would say, oh, you're good, you're good. I say, thank you. But it's not easy if you are trying to be an illustrator when you never did that before. So it was a struggle. And in fact, it took me about a year or more to do it, to illustrate this book. But it's just something that we all have to look back and say, we have a story to tell. Mary brought out the story of this young little kid, her life, still having a good time with her friends in a dire situation when her parents are standing in a queue, in a line, waiting for food and oil, and they still have time to drum, sing, and dance. So that means that if we try and feed the world, especially the children, they're gonna have fun as we try to educate them. So to me, the inspiration came from my background, my history, the culture, the geography, the land. Because if you've never been to Africa before, about 90% of Africa, the land is red. So if you look at the book, you can tell that, yes, this is Africa. So that's where my inspiration of doing this book came from, because I've lived it.
That's wonderful. Thank you both. So I'll kick us off with some questions. What we typically do during these author talks and book discussions, we like to keep it as informal and fun and cozy as possible, just like we're here in the room with Mary and Munir. So feel free to post anything in the chat, and then I will go through and call on people, and you can unmute and ask the author or illustrator your question in person-ish. What I really enjoyed about this, we got the opportunity to read this book out loud earlier today with the daycare next door. So my children's librarian, Kevin, read it to them, and then he also had them try to practice reading it as well. And it was just wonderful. It's such a beautiful story. It's beautifully illustrated. And it reminded me of a philosophy that I like to promote to people too, that even though you're an adult, you have to channel that kid imagination and humor and, taking life, the little moments, to survive, basically. I mean, we're very lucky here. We're not in a refugee camp, obviously, but just that notion, we lose a little bit of that as we grow up, and we focus too much on the bad. So I really enjoyed that, she's got her crown, and I'm like, we all need a crown. We need those moments. We need to just channel that brightness.
And also, just to add to that, Amy, the father in the book weaves her the crown, and it's so cool that he's so supportive of her creativity.
I can say to that, because you see, coming from an Islamic background, I wasn't encouraged at all to draw. So no one gave me paper. And as a kid, when you have an inborn quality in you, it's going to force you to do things. Mm-hmm. So what did I do? Northern Ghana has a savanna vegetation. So there's a little bit of sand. So I use my finger in the sand to teach myself how to draw until I was sent to school. So you see, when you're a kid, and even though I wasn't encouraged, but the encouragement that I got was those people that stood behind me and said, oh my God, that was beautiful. That was my encouragement. And that's why it's really good for us to encourage our kids.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the artistic side is it's so much. It's so healthy for you, mentally wise, physically, everything. I don't know. Catherine Bork has a question. Catherine, would you like to unmute? Is Catherine still around? Well, Oh, she's trying to talk. Lee, Catherine, can you click unmute? You should be able to unmute. Oh, Kathleen.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay.
Yay, we can hear you. Hi.
So this is a question for Mary, and I was wondering if you have other stories that you have in mind that you're going to be telling in the future.
Oh, hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Well, you know, I have a lot. And
I'm sure.
I have a lot. In fact, I was thinking today as I was coming to the library that this is definitely not the first story that I've written. It's just the first story that was bought. So I have yeah. And I do have a new book coming out early in 2023. It's a nonfiction book. So I'm always writing, and I'm always trying to polish them to send on to my agent. So it's an ongoing process.
Thank you.
Kathleen, did you had a question for Munir as well?
Yes, Munir, I am Greg Garrett's wife, and I've met you before, and I've seen your artwork. In
All right.
fact, yeah, I was in your home one time, and I saw a lot of your beautiful artwork. And I love the illustrations in the book. And
Thank
I
you.
was wondering if you can see yourself doing more illustrating in the future.
I believe so, because I just finished a second one by a different company and a different writer. And today we're talking about wherever I go. So I don't want to go too deep into a different book, but I just finished one. It's going to be launched this month. Yeah, I think it was written by a lady known as Summers. I forgot her first name. So I would love to do a lot of illustrations. The only thing that I want people to know is that this style is time consuming.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see if I can put forward like 3 different styles so that people can choose in future which one they might want me to use. Because this one, just like the way I paint with my portraits. So it's not easy, it takes a long time. And deadlines are very, very important. So I would love to continue doing it. Thank you very much. I didn't know you know me, but you've been in my house. Yeah, because I have a lot of West
I
African.
don't think we've seen each other in a long time, but
Yeah,
I have met you and I've seen your artwork, which is incredible. I love it.
thank you.
His house is a little bit of a museum, isn't it?
Right, right. Yeah, it's like an art museum.
It's not open to the public.
No. But it's very nice.
Anyone can call.
Book an appointment. So Mary and Munir, can you reveal titles or information about your upcoming books so we can look out for them?
Yeah. Mine is called Yoshi's Big Swim, One Turtle's Epic Journey Home, and it's published by Capstone. And it's illustrated, and I'm not going to get her name right. She's Croatian, Kaha Kavex, I think. And great illustrations, very different style from Munir's. But it's a nonfiction book about a turtle who was found in the Indian Ocean and taken to an aquarium in South Africa for rehabilitation. And after 20 years, she was released because she started digging in the sand, and they discovered that she was probably trying to lay eggs. So they trained her, had her lose some weight, increased her stamina, and it was a bittersweet moment in 2017, but they released her. And she traveled for over 2 years, 22,000 miles, the longest satellite tracked, GPS tracked animal ever. And she made it back to our natal beach in Western Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, the one that I illustrated, I think, was written by Susan Summers, if I got her first name right. And the book is Granny's Coal Pot. And the coal pot is more like a stove that they use charcoal. It's a very round, maybe cast iron type of thing that they use for cooking. And to tell you the truth, that was brought to Trinidad from my country. Those days, it was known as Gold Coast. And after independence, the name was changed to Ghana. So with slavery, they brought it to Trinidad, and they still use the same style that it was made, and they still cook with it. So this young boy learned how to cook with coal pot from his grandmother. And I learned it might be launched this month. The only thing about it is that it's much more like an educational book for schools, libraries, and institutions. And they're going to sell it as a kit. The larger one large book for the teacher, and the smaller ones for the students. So you might not see that one in Amazon. So I know that this August, this month, it's gonna be, I don't know the date, the exact date, but I think her name is Susan Summers. But if I'm mistaken, the last name Summers is that I know. So yeah,
Well, I took notes to make sure I could order them for the library. So
yeah.
it's great. All right, next person, Elizabeth, do you want to unmute and ask your question? Hi, Elizabeth.
Here, I can't unmute.
You are unmuted. We can hear you. Or you were.
Okay. How's that?
Perfect. Hello.
Okay. Hello, I'm Betsy. I'm curious about your working relationship, and Mary, for you, how you feel about writing about a culture that is not your own. It's something I face in my own writing. You know, were there times when Munir said to you, that's not the right word. You need to change this word because it's not, you didn't quite get the culture.
Wow, that's good.
So those are two great questions, and let's see, I might weave them together in my answer. So an author doesn't get to pick the illustrator. So yeah, and then usually in publishing, we don't even have conversations. And everything that Munir has to do goes through the publisher and their art director, and I don't have any say. And sometimes an author doesn't even see the finished copy until the proof comes out. So yeah, we didn't have much collaboration on this. He got everything right, I think, in the illustrations, and I was so pleased. You know, to the other part of your question, I really struggled actually with writing this story. It is a fictional story, but you know, I never fled. I never had to flee my community. I never had to resettle in a new community, know a new language and new customs and make new friends. Yeah, I struggled with it. I wanted to get it as right as I could. So I took this to a lot of friends who were resettled. There's inherent shortcomings in that process, but I had a lot of resettled people read this, and I made changes accordingly. Both before it was bought and even after it was bought, I asked the publisher if I could go to one more person about one more issue, and she said absolutely. So I got some really good, honest feedback, and yeah, but it's a really good question, and I think we all need to keep that alive as we're writing stories, especially about other people. You know, when Munir read the narrative, when he read the words, and he said, yeah, that was me, that was my experience, I get this, I was very reassured by that.
I can add on to that. I wasn't supposed to talk to Mary at all. So what happened is that I have to talk to Simon Schuster, whoever the editor was. And I'm someone who is I'm very keen about what's written about Africa and African people. So Mary's book, I looked at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good. I'm also will be the first person to tell the editor that, you know, this area might not sound right because that might not be what it is. But I didn't get that from Mary's book, because the second book, I told them, this is about my country. And if things are not right, I have to let you know. And if you feel like you don't want to do changes to fit the real story, then I'm not going to do it. But Mary's one was just something that I felt like it was well written. And I just took it and ran with it because she did such a good job.
So you would have been willing to say something if you had seen anything that you thought needed changing, but you didn't see anything.
No, I didn't see, because it doesn't matter whether it was a starving artist or a very rich artist, because that's my background, that's my people.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I have to stand by that. So your question is so good that Mary, at least she's been to Africa before. So that really helped her. So there are some people that might do research and they just write. And tomorrow you read it and you say, no, but this is not us. And I've seen that a lot. So that's why I have this deep respect for Mary, for really paying attention before writing the book.
That was really beautiful. There's almost tears. You guys are so sweet. John Chamberlain was hoping that you could read something from the book, Mary.
John Chamberlain, my professor?
We can have him unmute and he can say hello. John, would you like to say hello?
Yes, it is your old professor.
Oh, professor.
Well, I mean, when I saw this was coming up, I thought, well, I knew that you were a muralist. I know about your paintings. I didn't know you were an illustrator, but I have this love of libraries, and I had, before being in higher ed, I was at RISD for 31 years.
Yes.
I was at the elementary level for 10. So I love children's books. I love children's books. Anyway, so I don't know were we supposed to have read this before this event, because you're all talking about this wonderful book, but I haven't read it. I haven't seen it. I have
to bring you one.
So I mean, can you like hold it up and show us some of the illustration? Well, no, I saw that part, but
here she goes. Mary's
yes, there we go. Well, I mean, I'm intending to buy it. I'm intending to buy it for my great nephews, because there are so many stories like this that are historic. I remember one time when I was teaching, and we were talking about immigrants coming to the United States and being assimilated or Americanized, that in the class, we had students that had escaped the pogroms from Russia. Yeah. We had students that had escaped communist China with Chiang Kai-shek, going over with Chiang Kai-shek in 49 with that revolution. My own family were escaping Roman Catholic persecution in the 17th century. They were French Huguenot. And so these stories are current, but they're also historical. And for you, Mary, to write this is such a blessing to us, to keep this story alive, these stories alive, because we don't in our own daily, I mean, in our privileged lives in America, particularly, with enough food and enough of everything most of us have, to know what these people are going through. And so bless you for that. But anyway, I can't wait to get the book, but right. I did want to know, okay, copies of the book are available at your, okay, good, very good. So I will go into my community library. Well, thank you. And Munir, it's so great to see you, and I'm glad that you had have had really great success with
Yeah,
your
well,
illustrating now.
thank you very much.
Take care. And also, I didn't know I was going to be on TV. I was going to be seen, or I would have not just been in a T-shirt, because I'm sitting here working on my work, which is I'm a quilter, and I happen to be working on a quilt for another former grad, Sandy McDonald, who lives in Newport. Anyway, I'm going to.
Yeah, I have a
Stop.
T-shirt. I'm wearing a T-shirt too, so that's okay.
Okay.
That's-
Okay. All right.
That's how the book discussions go. We're all
All right. Very good.
we're,
Very
all
good.
we're
Anyway,
having a blast here.
Thank you for sharing those pictures, and thank you for the opportunity to listen to both of you. And we'll go on to the next question.
Thank you.
John, I can also have them sign a book for you and leave it here at the Washington Park Library if you want to come by. We have a whole bunch of books.
Now, where are you again?
I'm on Broad Street, right across from the Roger Williams Zoo.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. All right.
I mean, you can go to any of the library, but so RIPTA kindly sponsored all of these books through the Rhode Island Center for the book. So we have tons and tons to give away. So I'm happy to bring books to any of the community libraries if they're out or whatever. We've got a lot left.
I actually live downtown Providence now, and so can you send a copy for me? And I'd be happy to pay for it to support.
Not-
Well, anyway, can you send it to the downtown branch
Absolutely.
at Washington? And okay, very good.
I
Thank
definitely will.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
All
All right. Let's
Thank
see.
you.
So Lee, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any questions for the author and the illustrator?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. I am going to ask Mary about the main character, Abia. What characteristics did you just love most about her? Like, how did you, I know like she was modeled after some of the children there, but what did you pull from, like, how did you create that character?
Well, let's see. A little backstory is that I took one version of this story to a conference, a writing workshop, and it was in third person at that point. And the critiquer, who was in the field of publishing, said, I really want to be in your character's mind, in her heart. I want to feel connected to her. So I can't, and you can't do that in third person. So yeah, I stayed up all night long because it was only a weekend conference and I wanted to take a revision back to her. And I tried it in first person. And I tried to embody this little girl. And I found a mentor text, which is another book that you don't copy, but if you like it, you look at, you know, the different techniques that author used. So there was a mentor text of a little girl, very different story, but she was a princess. And I thought, okay, I'm in this girl and I know all the chores that she has to do. I'm going to make her a queen. So, yeah, and the characteristic I think I like the most about her is her resiliency. You know, she is a queen even when she's resettled, and she doesn't let go of that creativity and that courage, even when she moves to what she calls a strange and faraway place. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I think I like her resilience the most.
I do too. She's amazing. Let's see. I might ask you. What struck me too is at the end, when she moves to her forever home, like how will you imagine her life to be different? Like if there was a part 2 of this book, like how would you continue that? Like how would you, like her day to day? I mean, it's going to be very different, but.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, every resettled child's story is different, but the ones I have worked with here in Providence, I think the biggest hurdle is the language. I mean, if we extrapolate from this book, she's probably 8 or 9 when she's resettled, and she knows her native language, but not English. That's huge. She is thrust into a local public school. Her family, her parents are trying to get used to a workplace, taking public transportation. A 4-story walk up when you've lived in a refugee camp. I mean, you just can't imagine how different it is and how difficult it is to navigate everything that we take for granted. Yeah, but she's a Bia. She'll do it.
She'll go to college.
She'll go to college. Yeah. I mean, it is incredible. And the parents who have made, only less than 1% of refugees are resettled. So, and this is one thing that one of the readers told me to put in the back matter, that this is a lucky little girl.
Mhm.
Both her parents are with her in the camp. She has an aunt in the camp. And yes, she fled a very difficult situation, but yeah, she has a lot of love and support, and she's resettled. But for the parents, it's even more difficult. It's even more difficult. They're there for their kids. They've made this leap for their kids.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't thought of a sequel, but maybe someone in your audience will write it.
Yes, maybe a child today that read it. Who
Maybe a
knows?
child. Yes.
I love I'm gonna share some more illustrations just because it was just so cool. If I can do this, I'm not Kevin. I'm not my children's librarian. I'm not as good at doing books on screens and stuff. Okay, so we shared this illustration earlier. Let's share it. She's got her crown that was made by her father, and then I noticed this piece at the end that a little girl that was sitting next to me earlier when Kevin was reading this, they all went, "Ooh, she has a real crown." Sparkly crown.
She now has a plastic
A
crown
plastic
on.
on.
Yes, and they were like, "She's a real queen now." It was really sweet. It was this little girl that was sitting next to me that was probably like 7 or something like that, and she pointed that out because it was glamorous. So
I'd love to ask Munir a question.
Okay.
So, and I haven't asked him this, but in the last spread, this little girl is howling, as she used to howl at the hyenas in the camp, but she's still howling, and she has great fortitude in this picture.
Mhm.
I wondered if that cityscape was Providence. I mean, I think
This-
I see the Baptist church
This
there.
is the first time someone asked me. You see, this city is fiction also.
Yeah, it is
Just like
fiction story. It's
the
a
start of the
fictional
book.
story, yes.
So what I did was that after getting some buildings and creating a cityscape, a lot of the buildings that you see in the background almost look like I closed my eyes and I just added buildings to it. I didn't even have to look at any picture because I have an idea how those buildings are. But those in the foreground, I have to go through other places in Providence and also on the internet just to see how some of the city buildings are. So that's the way I created that city.
And there's some hills.
and
I
some
think,
hills
yeah,
too,
Rhode Island
so
doesn't have hills
Doesn't
like
have
that.
hills, yeah. So I just felt like I should add the hills to it so that will go with when she was howling
Yeah.
back in Africa.
that does look like the Baptist church, though. I agree.
I didn't even know.
All right. Kathleen, would you like to unmute again and ask Munir your question?
Mira, I was wondering if you were willing to share any the parts of your story about how you came here and how old you were and what was your experience?
I think Mary just mentioned about when the kids are brought here with their parents, and the parents have to go through some difficulties, which I did. But even though I wasn't a kid, I think I got here in my 40s, early 40s, and it wasn't easy. In fact, there was a time when it was like fall, And I was supposed to wear something underneath a sweater. And this sweater has holes, like the one that needed ones. And I didn't know I had to do that. I tell you, that cold kicked my, you know what I mean? What I mean, I was so cold just because that was a struggle. I didn't know how to dress. And I wore this in winter, at the beginning of winter. So there's a struggle, no matter who you are, unless you're so, let's say, so knowledgeable, you've traveled before. So it's not easy. So when I came, I had to find a way to communicate with people. And one thing that I found out was that even maybe by now you can understand me a little bit clearer. There was a time when people would say it again. Will you say it again? And it was so frustrating. So it took some time before I started learning some of the pronunciations. You have to add a little bit of American pronunciation to my African British pronunciation that I know before people started understanding me. So it's not easy, no matter how old you are when you get to this country, it's not easy. But I would tell you something. When I went to London, I found out that American English was easier for me to understand than the British English. Yet they were our teachers back home when I was a kid. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did your family come with you or?
No, I'm
No?
the only one all these years. I'm still the only person here.
Oh, that's hard. That must be hard.
It's hard, but they're reaping the benefit of me being here, so that's okay. You have to support them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Lori, would you like to unmute and ask Mary your question?
Sure. Hi, Mary. How are you? So I'm
Lori Basilico, hi.
Hi, how are you? It's so nice to
Nice
see
to
you.
meet you.
So my question was, so how is writing this book different or similar to your filmmaking projects?
Wow, great question. Well, remember I said that publishing person said that I shouldn't write in third person? She actually said, I feel like you're shooting a documentary and you're watching from above. I thought, okay, well, I guess I can't take what I learned in the film world and apply it to picture books. Yeah, I think though in both, what we're really looking for is human connection. You know, we know storytelling is powerful and there's so many different ways of telling stories. And they can entertain us and inform us and they can persuade, but ultimately the good ones connect us as human beings. And I think I learned that making documentaries, and I hope I brought it to the book. But it really is that, you know, it's a kind of intangible but powerful piece of a story. And that is how we're more similar than we are different. Yeah, so I think that's the thread that connects them. But
Thanks.
very different ways of presenting.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I like how you guys are interacting with people from your past that are popping up.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
one of my favorite things, that whenever we do the author talks or the events and stuff, like people are always like, oh my God, so-and-so. You know,
Yes.
it's fabulous. So for people that have read this book, this came up today as well. I had so much fun with this group that came over from the daycare next door. They asked about, you know, similar books, and I conveniently noticed that you had like recommended books in the back on the last page, which was so exciting. I'm gonna make you like pick like your top 2 favorites though, or 3 favorites. I won't make you pick like one, but
I've got to refresh
for,
my
for
memory.
for the picture books, like what would you say to read next for someone that really loved something like this? All of them.
Yeah, I loved A Different Pond by Balfe. I love Stepping Stones. That's translated. And I love Teacup. Teacup is amazing. I have to say I have not read all of the middle grade and young adult. I know Linda Sue Park, who read A Long Walk to Water, and she's just an amazing author. I did read Refugee by Alan Gratz. That's very good. I mean, it's all, again, from different perspectives.
Mhm.
But I think I picked, and then the editors kind of went over the list for the ones that had gotten good recommendations from others or
Yeah.
had starred reviews or something, but yeah. And there are many more. I mean, you know, we had to put this together in 2018, 19, and it came out 2020. So in the meantime, there have been a lot of other good books.
It's true. Well, I'm gonna share your top 3 with my children's librarian because I think we're gonna do like another story time like this. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, Teacup is very sweet, and A Different Pond is wonderful.
yeah, and I see that A Different Pond is illustrated by an author that we did her graphic memoir last.
Okay.
It was when I was on leave. It was September, right? Leave.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Gosh, and I'm blanking on the graphic. This is what happens when you have
Yeah.
kids. You just
When you have so many books to choose from.
But yes, it was that was a very good graphic memoir as well. So let's see, and more questions in the chat. Does anyone have any more questions or comments, or I'll just keep talking with them. It's fine with me. We mentioned Abia's father earlier. What was your perspective about writing him? Like, how'd you get in his head? Like, what? I know you talked a little bit about him being supportive, but tell me more.
Yeah, well, when you have a main character, you don't really want the other characters to overshadow her in this case. So he has a very background role. I wanted him to be supportive of her. And yeah, so I had him weaving her crown.
Do you think he, I mean, the question that I had on the stuff I sent you guys earlier was asking if he likes it at the camp.
Yeah.
I don't know if likes is the right word, but what would you think his thoughts were on that?
You know, most parents in camps do not want to stay in the camp. This is all a B&U, but the parents are there because in most cases it's a safe haven, but they don't want to stay there. There are no jobs, you know, there's no future for the kids. So in that spread here, you know, he's like, you know, hopefully we'll leave. Hopefully we'll go to a forever home. And Abia doesn't like that because it's in a strange and faraway land. But you can tell for both her parents, this is what their dream is, to have her grow up someplace else. So they really are background characters, but clearly they're planting seeds in her that it's time to go. And if they're lucky, they will go. And yeah, it'll be a forever home.
Yeah. Yeah, parents want the best for their children, of
Yeah.
course. Let's see. Okay. Oh, thanks for answering that. Lorraine was asking about the recording being shared, so she's excited to watch more of that because I think she missed some of it. Can both of you tell me more about your background? I know, Munir, you do a lot of art in the area, right? Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, mostly I call myself an art educator. because I've done so many art programs in community centers and schools before I even started teaching. So, and also my wife and I we had a nonprofit known as the International Gallery for Heritage and Culture. After we got tired, we just let it, we push it to the side. But I'm also a muralist. I've done huge murals in Rhode Island, some of them larger than life sizes, and they're in schools, community centers, on the highways and other places. And sometimes I use it also as a tool to bring the community together. In fact, there was a time when I had a mural to paint, and St. Michael's Church, they wheeled these people from their church, older people, elder, and they all came and sat down underneath the mural, and they gave them brushes and paint for them also to be part of the process. So sometimes you can use a different tool to bring people together, and I try to use my art to do that. So apart from going to school and presenting, I also teach art. Then after some time, I taught at Rick and URI downtown. Rick, I taught mural design class. So some of the murals I did was our classroom. So the students were with me to know, to learn how to paint murals and what it takes to paint murals. So I have done so many things in my life. And that's why sometimes I would say, I'm blessed that I wasn't one-sided in what I do. Today, we're talking about illustration, something that I never did before. I can add that to my knowledge and my experience. So I've done a lot of different things in art.
I love that. Do you still work at Rick? You still teach over there?
No, in fact, when I got this book, I felt that I cannot teach. When I left URI downtown, I was at Rick also. And then Refugee came and asked me to go to Davis Technical High School to run an after-school program, which was much more of a watered down of the mural painting class I taught at Rick with the students. So if you go to Davis, they have beautiful 5 murals, which means 5 years that I was there with them. So when I got this book, I knew that this book is gonna be so intense that I had to stop teaching so that I could pay attention to this book. So that's how I stopped teaching, and I jumped into doing this illustration.
I live right down the street from Rhode Island College, and my husband works in the theater department there. So that's why I was curious.
Oh, okay.
And if you're ever on
Yeah.
Smith Street and you pass by St. Patrick's Church, knock on the door and walk into their chapel, because it is absolutely full of Munir's portraits of
saints
saints.
of the Roman Catholic Church.
Wow. Amazing.
Magnificent.
So that's something, the Muslim painted Roman Catholic saints. So that shows how broad-minded I am.
We will be having a potential very large mural project happening on the back wall of the building that's going to be all student artists. So I might email you to see if you want to join us and hang out with the young budding artists of Providence.
Let me know.
He's a real inspiration.
Let me know. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking you could inspire them for sure. Let's see. Lori, would you like to unmute and say hello? We would love to see your face.
Hi. Hi. I have my daughter here. Chloe. She's shy.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi.
She's playing.
Amy.
Oh, look.
So Chloe was in earlier today and she checked out one of our American Girl dolls that circulate from the Washington Park Library.
Yes.
What's the doll's name?
Addie Walker.
Addie. Oh, nice.
Nice meeting you.
I'm so glad you guys could join us. They just got the book today. I just handed it to them and told them about the event. Yay!
Oh, yay.
And you know, we were wondering if we could trade a book, if you could and maybe inscribe it to Chloe. And
Be
then we
happy
can
to.
bring,
Be happy.
and we can take that, and then we can bring this one back for you.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Just give her the right spell of her name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I'm writing it down right now.
Okay.
It's CHLOE. I'll let Miss Amy know.
Yep, I got it. I got all my notes going on over here.
You must have a lot. That would be so wonderful if you painted a mural on the building. That would be
Yeah.
beautiful.
We have one right now that the youth artist from AS220 did a few years ago. That's over by our community garden on one corner of the building. But we're hoping to do the back of the building where like the benches are and the tents and stuff. So that's our part.
Yeah,
Like-
that's where we're driving from our home, and like, so you would be able to see it coming into Providence from the Cranston area. So
Okay, great.
that
Yeah.
would be really good.
Very cool.
Uh-oh.
Oh, look at the kitty too. What's Kitty's name?
Oh. We have
This is Rosie Rose, and that puppy is Blasi. And then I have 2 pugs sleeping.
Wow.
This is my wild animal. Yes, you're my wild animal.
Mom has a busy household.
very. Tell them what page that you liked the best. What was she doing? What was she doing? Do you remember?
Mhm.
You can tell them.
Yeah, we're listening.
This one. Do you want to read it? I'll show them the page.
I can guess. Yeah,
Oh, that's everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, people love that page.
Really?
Yes.
Because she's
Yeah.
so
Into the house.
Yeah.
Can you
The
see
background is beautiful. The sun and the sunset
yeah.
Yeah.
is just, yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
So can you see the highness?
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, up there on the mountain, on the hills.
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Thank you for pointing out that. I didn't
You're
see that earlier.
Wow.
Pointing that out. She's correcting me.
I think we need to have a howling event at the library with the kids in the backyard area. I think this is on the docket because I feel like howling. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did.
that was amazing. Right, so we can tie things up. Thank you again to Mary and Munir for joining me tonight. This was just so wonderful. Thank you to my partner, Lee Smith, for just setting everything up and running everything in the background. It's so amazing. I could not do this without you. And I was bragging about you all day today to everyone I saw.
She
so.
was.
Thank you.
She was.
Thank you
All
very
good,
much.
thankfully. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Amy. You're amazing.
Thank you. It's did a good job.
And
I
big
thank
thanks.
everyone that tune in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Big thanks out to Kate and Rhode Island Center for the book for always partnering with us every summer. This is just wonderful. It's so amazing to be able to get all these books out to all the kids in the community. Thanks to Ripta for sponsoring it. And just real quick, I'm going to showcase what we're doing next month. So we are virtually traveling to the South Providence Library next month, where they're going to co-host for us. And we're going to have another local author, illustrator, comics extraordinaire, Walker Medellin,
Mhm.
and we'll be talking about his new book, the COVID Desert Diary. So that will be on September 6th for those of you that want to sign up and join us for that. And yeah, happy Monday, everybody.
But so do you have a specific libraries that people should go? People have been calling me. I don't know what to say.
Oh, no, I mean, they can go. So any of the Providence community libraries, the community libraries of Providence, any of those 9 locations, we
Okay.
have the books at all those locations. And if anyone is out of books, they can come here to Washington Park because I now have 2 more boxes that
All right.
Kate left today. So yeah, so send them to the library. we will
Okay.
find them the book. That's
book.
usually our goal.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
You, Amy and
My
Lee.
professor, John.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.